Today on our 2009 Scion XP, you're going to be taking a look at, and I'm going to show you how to install the Curt T connector vehicle wiring harness with 4-pole flat trailer connector, part number 56062. That's what our wiring looks like when it's installed. This is going to live inside of the vehicle. This is going to give you all the proper functions for your trailer or whatever you may be hauling on your hitch. It's going to give you your brake lights, both turn signals, your running lights, your ground wire, and your power wire. It's also going to come with a removable dust cap. It's going to help protect your connections from getting any dirt, grime, anything like that, help keep them from corroding. When not in use, you simply roll it up, tuck it right back in a compartment area, and then close your hatch. So when we're ready to use it, simply pull it out. You can see we have plenty of extra. You want to run your wire over top this rubber seal. Make sure you stay away from any connection points between your door and the inside of the vehicle. It is going to have a protective coating on it, so it's not going to harm the wire when you close your hatch on it. Now that we've gone over some of the features, let's show you how to get it installed. First, I want to go over what comes in your kit. This is going to be your wiring harness. You got your 4-pole connections, going to give you your lights to whatever you have on your hitch. This is going to connect into your factory wiring. This is going to go to your passenger side, and the brown and yellow is going to go to your driver's side. You're going to have your ground wire and your power wire. What's most important about this is this box right here. This box is your converter box, and what this is going to do is going to protect your vehicle's wiring from any backfeed, from anything that may be going on with whatever you have on your hitch or whatever you have this connected to. And vice versa, it's going to protect the wiring on whatever you're hauling from your vehicle wiring if there's a problem with that. Then you're going to have your power wire, which is going to run to the front of your vehicle. On your battery, you're going to get a small kit like this. It's going to come with some butt connectors, your fuse, and a ring terminal. You're also going to get a fuse holder for your battery and some black silicone. A couple things you're going to need: 10mm socket. I recommend some electrical tape, and one heat shrink butt connector, and I'll explain this later. Let me talk a little bit about your power wire. Now, this wiring kit is going to live inside the vehicle, so this can stay inside. It's not going to be out unless you need it. Your power wire can be run a couple ways. There's been a few comments that the instructions say that this has to be run inside the vehicle. It's not necessary, it can be run outside. There is a protective coating on this, so your wiring is not going to get damaged. If you decide you want to run it inside, there's a few ways to do it. You'd have to take out your panels and run it along the body on the inside through a grommet under your dash. I'm going to run it outside because it's a lot easier and a lot quicker. Run it through the inside is very time consuming. To start our installation, we're going to remove this floor covering right here. And all we're going to do is we're just going to pull out on it. We're going to set it aside for now. And on each side of this, you have two plastic panels. Down inside, we're going to have two 10mm nuts that we need to remove. We'll do the same thing on the passenger side. So as you can see, I was having a little bit of trouble getting this one out. There's a clip right here, a little plastic holder. If you reach underneath and push this out, it'll release it. And you can use a screwdriver. I'm going to use a plastic trim panel tool because all of our panels are plastic. There's a little panel right here on the side. There's a notch right at the top. You take that, put it in there, you're going to pop that panel out. And you're going to have one of these on both sides of the vehicle you need to remove. Next, we need a locator plug that's going to our tail light, which is going to be this white one right here. What we're going to do is right here on the top, you're going to push in, pull out. So we're going to take our yellow wire and we're going to feed it up behind this panel. And then we're just going to connect our ends, plug back into the tail light. Now we can reinstall our panel. One thing I suggest is if you pull your white wire, your ground wire out, gives you a little bit more room to work with. Next thing we're going to do is we have a couple grommets we can use. There's one right back here, which is a little hard to get to. We have another one right up here on the floor. I'm going to go ahead and remove this center section. Makes it a little bit easier for you to see. So you can see this grommet here. We're just going to cut a little bitty slice in it because all we're doing is putting one wire through it. That's going to be our black wire. And you want to make sure you don't cut those wires, so we're going to go a little bit to the side of it here. Once you get your hole, you can either feed the whole bundle of wire down through there, or you can reach down underneath and feed the wire up. Whichever way you want to do it. It comes right down underneath the whole pan. The whole pan's should be open, so I'll just feed that down through there. Next, I'm going to take one of my butt connectors. I'm going to put it on my black wire. Crimp it down. We're going to strip our power wire that we just fed through the grommet. Put that in our other end of our butt connector. Crimp it down. Make sure it's got a good hold. I'm going to go ahead. This is completely up to you. I like to wrap all of my connections, any of my butt connections, with electrical tape. Next thing we need to do is we need to mount our converter box. We need to find a good flat spot off, so it's not interfering with the panels we got to put back in. So right here on this back side, underneath this panel, there's a flat spot. We need to clean off all of the stuff that's on there so we have a good stick on it. So we'll take some rubbing alcohol, paper towel or rag. We're going to wipe off our box. We're also going to wipe off this panel. And we'll take our two-sided sticky tape that comes in our kit. Stick it on. Make sure you press it firmly into place. Make sure you push on it. Make sure it sticks good. We can just route our other wires to clean it up a little bit. Now we need to mount our ground wire. Your kit's going to come with a small self-tapping screw. You're going to need a 1/4-inch socket. Now, if you don't have one that has a magnet, a trick, because you're going to be going at an angle, to keep that nut or that screw inside of there, if you take a little piece of paper towel, put it in like that, that will hold it. We want to make sure when we put this screw in, it's going into metal. Make sure it's not going in any plastic. I think I'm going to go right back underneath here. It's going to keep it out of the way of everything. You just want that tight enough so that ring terminal doesn't spin. You want to make sure you don't tighten it so tight that it breaks it off or strips the hole. Next, we're going to route our green and red wire over to our passenger side. If you look right here, there's a wire, factory wire that runs over there. What we're going to do is you need your zip ties that come in your kit. We're just going to zip tie it right to that wire. Now we're going to do the same thing we did on our driver's side. We're going to feed this up behind the panel, connect our plugs together. This tucked in here. And we can reinstall our panel here. Now we'll come back and trim our zip ties, clean up our install a little bit. Next, we're going to take our silicone. We're just going to put a little bit of silicone around our wire there, just to keep out any unnecessary smells or anything like that, any moisture. Now we can reinstall our panels in reverse order from the way we took them out. Now remember, when you put your driver's side panel back in, your 4-pole wire, kind of route it underneath a little bit. What we'll do, take it just like this. Next thing we need to do is run our power wire up to our battery. Now we're going to be using a lift to make it a little bit easier for you to see so you know exactly how we're doing it. Doing it at home in your garage to make it easier for yourself. If you don't have ramps, I recommend finding some that you can borrow or something and getting the back end on some lifts. Make sure you chock the front wheel so the vehicle doesn't roll and set your emergency brake. So you can see right here, this is the grommet that our power wire came out. I'm going to run this to the front of the vehicle real quick. Let me get it done and I'll show you how I did it. So right here's where we came out. I went over top this box. I found some existing piping, zip tied it here, went over top of this brace, went on the outside of this tank here. You can see right here, zip tied to this existing wiring or existing hose, and did the same thing all the way up. So you might put another one right there. Went over top of this brace. What I did from the top is I took an airline tube and made me a path from my battery down, trying to stay away from anything hot or moving. So if you look right up here, you have your steering that comes down here, and you can't see it, but right back in here, you also have a CV axle. Now that's gonna move. So what I did is I took my airline tube and I went behind all of these, so when I pull my wire back up, it's gonna pull it up against the body of the car. Now we'll pull up our airline tube with our wire connected. You want to make sure you pull that up where you get all that slack out. Now before you do any cutting of this wire, I recommend checking underneath to make sure your wire's not snagged on anything. So what I did is I routed my black wire around underneath of this and on this side so I can zip tie it right to this bundle of wires when I run it over. The reason is I have nowhere to attach it here, so a lot of that wire is going to would be sitting against the engine or just hanging there. I prefer not to have it like that, and I would suggest not to because you want to stay away from heat. Cut my wire about here. Strip it back. This is where we're going to use our heat shrink butt connector. Now, you can use the ones that come in your kit, but I recommend this. And the reason is because this is going to be living outside of the vehicle. And this heat shrink butt connector is going to connect, or it's going to protect the connection from any moisture and corroding over time. So now we'll take our fuse holder, we'll put one end in our butt connector, like that. Then we'll take a heat source, heat up our butt connector, make sure you're not aiming at anything that can melt other than the butt connector itself. So now, even though that's a heat shrink butt connector, totally up to you, I'm going to wrap it with some electrical tape. We're going to take our other end, and we're going to add our ring terminal that comes in our kit. Then we're going to take a 12mm socket and remove this top nut here. Make sure this is getting installed on the positive side of the battery. Now, before you make that connection, you want to make sure that you don't have the fuse in. The reason is you want a direct connection between everything that you just connected and your tail lights. I'm going to tighten that nut back down. And now we can install our fuse. Now I'm going to take a small zip tie. I'm going to go through this hole right in the bottom of my holder. I'm going to zip tie this lid closed, or the cap, whatever you want to call it. You don't have to make it real tight, just enough. We're not going to have to worry about that lid coming off or that fuse maybe coming loose. Now with all of our wiring installed, we're going to test it out and make sure it's all working properly. Left turn, right turn, brake lights, running lights. And that'll do it for a look at and installation on the Curt T connector vehicle wiring harness with 4-pole flat trailer connector, part number 56062 on our 2009 Scion XP.